Warahmatullahi Ta'ala Wabarakatuh, and a very good morning for all the audience and panelists. It is a great day today to discuss and debate about William James Functionalism, a psychologist and philosopher from the United States. So, today our beautiful and good-looking panelists who can share information between us is invited. I am MUAZ FAISAL. I studies at International Islamic University Malaysia. There is Dr. FATIMATUL ZAHRAH Binti Ali from Department Communication. She is a lecturer and a researcher. On the other side, there is Mrs. IMAN AMEERA BALQIS Binti MOHAMAD from Department Banal. She is a freelance writer. For further detail about William James' background, I would like to seek information from the first panel. Dr. Fatimatul Zahrah Binti Ali. As a lecturer and a researcher that has been teaching for 10 years, can you explain his background?
Thank you so much, Brother Muaz. Alright, without further ado, I will take you guys to explore about William James' background. First of all, who is William James? Alright, William James, he was a great man that was born on January 11, 1842 at the Astor House, which is in a New York City hotel. And his family is a very rich family because his parents also a very well-known person at that time. And William James, not only a philosophy just like what we thought he was, but he also an American philosophy and history. And he also became the first educator that offered psychology course in the United States. And that is why he was being widely known as father of American psychology, since he's the one that introduced and teach about the psychology in America. Other than that, William James also, he was the founder of functional psychology, which is what we are going to discuss in today's topic. In addition, James also trained to become a physician, and he taught anatomy at Harvard. But although he learned about physics, how to be a physician, he never practiced medicine. Instead, he chose to pursue in psychology and also in philosophy. Although we see William James having a good life, and because he's come from a very rich family and have a successful life, but we also need to know that he facing some difficulty in his life also. Unfortunately, James was suffering from a variety of physical ailments, that including those of eyes, back, stomach, and skin. And he also have been diagnosed with a torn teeth. And other than physical ailments, he also have been diagnosed with some psychological symptoms, including periods of depression. So it's kind of sad to know that he facing this difficulty in his life. Just like what I said before, that James was learning about physics, but he began to equip Harvard Psychology Laboratory. But even though he was not even an experimentalist, because he was never convinced the value of the laboratory work and did not like it personally. And other than psychology, James also involved himself in philosophy. He spent the last 20 years of his life refining his philosophy system, and because of that, by the 1890s, he was recognized as America's leading philosopher. And based on the information that I found about James William, was died on August 26, 1910, which is at the age of 68 at the Tamworth, United States. Okay, I think that's all for me about William James' background. So thank you so much. Back to Brother Muaz.
We have listened to a fantastic explanation about the scholar's background. Next, we move to Mrs. Iman Amira Balqis Binti MAHZAN. As an author, can you define this scholar's concept and his contribution to the field?
Assalamualaikum and very good morning a bit to all of you that are willing to share your precious time by joining our forum session today. First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to deliver some benefit information to all the audiences today. Thank you also to Mr. Moderator for giving me the chance to shed a light on what's actually the concept that William James had brought to our School of Psychology, and I will also going to explore the contributions of William James to our School of Psychology. Regarding regarding the concepts of William James had proposed the theory of functionalism, which at first was being released as a revolt against the weaknesses to the theory of structuralism that Wundt and his student teacher had brought by. Functionalists have their main mission, which is to explain the true purpose of consciousness and behavior, instead of focusing on the element and structure of consciousness, which are what structuralists aim of doing. Going in depth, William James was later being introduced to another whole new theory, which was Darwin's theory of evolution. The key to this theory that Darwin brought is that natural selection leads to organisms adapting to their environment, and this obviously also including the way these organisms behave. What adaptation actually means right here is that a trait of an organism has the function for survival and reproduction of the individual as it has been naturally selected. Herbert Spencer had coined the phrase survival of the fetus, in which that it was a method in describing the mechanism of natural selection. Apart from that, it can be observed that Darwin's theory of evolution has apparently leads to another new arena of psychology, which was the arena of animal psychology. One can definitely notice that there exists a sharp increase in the interest of how all animal functions. Most psychologists at the current time aim in finding out more about the profound correlation between animal and psychology. Animal psychology also has brought in the ideology that there is no obvious differences between animals and humans, which brought more and a lot of critics from the public. Moving on to how pragmatism has shown prominent interconnection with the theory of functionalism, we can see that the main focus that pragmatism is dealing with is regarding the practical consequences of something. To William James himself, pragmatism was the philosophy of truth, and James, as a pragmatist, of course he understood truth through that lens. As noted, William James believed that only the practical aspects of life are valuable and helped people to move into the right direction of life. Besides, let us take a look at another new theory, which is also as significant as other theory, and the theory that I would like to explain today is the James-Lange theory of emotion. So, what this theory suggests is the idea that emotions occur as a result of physiological reactions to events, and this theory also suggests that seeing an external stimulus will lead to a physiological reaction. For instance, you are walking in the woods and you see a grizzly bear, and you begin to tremble and your heart begin to race. Okay, so according to this theory of emotion, you are not trembling because you are frightened, but rather you feel frightened because you are trembling. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's the time for me to divulge deeper into the prominent contributions that William James had brought into the School of Psychology. First and foremost, it is obvious that functionalism had given a huge influence in the rise and development of behaviorism and applied psychology, and not only to the arena of behaviorism, but it turns out that functionalism had left a massive influence to the educational system, and this can be noted through John Dewey's belief that children should be exposed to the exact level where they are developmentally prepared. Well, I think that is all about a little bit about the conceptual theories and contributions of William James, because we are constrained of the time limit. Well, I think that is all from me. Thank you so much.
Wow, that is a good elaboration, Mrs. Iman. Being the moderator, I am so glad to be one of the guests here. I am a first semester student at IIUM, and I am taking human sciences. May I add my point about Islamic perspective regarding the scholar's work? Islamic perspective that relates is Af'alullah and Af'alul Ibad. Af'alullah, or Allah action, is everything that happens in this world is with His desire and iradah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such as incident day and night, natural disaster, and more. What I want to stress on is Af'alul Ibad, or act of human. Af'alul Ibad is everything what human do or what human act depends on their effort and endeavor of human itself, such as eat, drink, hardworking, lazy, and more. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah As-Saffat, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim, Wallahu khalaqakum wa ma ta'malun, and Allah has created you and what you make. Af'alul Ibad is divided to two parts, which is Ijbari and Ikhtiyari. Ijbari is something that happens not with human choice and human will itself. For example, flaw or defect in the human body, skin color, sneeze, heart rate, and more. Ikhtiyari happens based on will, choice, and desire by human itself, such as eat, drink, lazy, worship, work, zikr, and more. According to Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Allah has given the power of choice to human based on aql or intelligence and wahy in doing something or act, even though the occurrence of a thing or act is based on Allah's will. Allah says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. And you do not please except that Allah please, the Lord of the worlds. This ayah shows that humans have the power of choice and desire to do something or act made by Allah. If Allah does not want it to happen, it will not happen. And that is the destined provisions by Allah. Well, I think that is all from us today. Thank you for lending your ears in our discussion. Now we all know that the scholar contributes a lot to psychology. Thank you, and wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.